guys, big breaking news coming out. Please share this video. It says here Moscow vows devastating response if Kiev strike deep into the Bear country. If NATO lifts restriction on equipment provided to Ukraine, it will be directly involved in the conflict. We have more breaking news. Ukraine reacts to nuclear, claim by UK. Kiev has denied that it wants to build a nuclear similar to the one that the sleeping giant dropped. Well, you guys know, the Fat Man nuke. We have more breaking news. This is a breaking news updates here. Ukraine could have nuclear in months. All right, so we're going to see what's going on here, guys. Once again, these two, nation against nations, are rising. And yesterday we talked about the Fat Man. That's a very powerful atomic bomb that was dropped. You guys already know 1940 something on Japan. And so it seems like Ukraine is building something similar to the Fat Man. So you have the bear responding. The bear has sent a message. So there's 3 articles, and we're going to see what's going on here, guys. So Western nation continue to play with fire. The Bear Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria told a news briefing on Wednesday. She was commenting on reported attempts by London and Paris to convince Washington to give the green light to the yellow and blue country to fire Western long range deep into the Bear country. The Bear's Russia. Last week, the Telegraph reported that the UK and France were seeking the sleeping giant permission to green light strikes involving Storm Shadow and other cruise missiles before elect Donald gets into the spotlight. So they basically want to start WWE3. They basically want to start WWE3 before the Donald takes the spotlight. If, once again, Ukraine capital regime gets permission for the aforementioned strikes, we will treat it as NATO de facto entering a direct conflict with the bear, once again Maria said. A response to the use of these powerful long range against the territory of our nation would be imminent and devastating. So if this happens, then there's a possibility there will be martial law declared, and that will cancel everything, meaning that the Donald won't be in the spotlight, because all this here will be the opening of WWE3. Now, the Bear capital, Moscow, has stated that it believes longer range Western supply cannot be operated by Ukraine forces. Listen, so they are saying that the long range Ukraine, again, they don't have the button. They don't have the button to push the long range. We have the button. So it's not Ukraine that is firing towards the Bear country. It is us firing towards the Bear country. So again, this is very important because a lot of people don't know this. Moscow has stated that it believes longer range supply equipment cannot be operated by Ukrainian forces on their own. These equipment systems require the presence of NATO specialists as well as intelligence data obtained through the Block's satellite system, the Bear official have said on several occasions. So in other words, Ukraine, they don't have the satellites. They don't have the button. So the one that has it is us, US and NATO. So it just doesn't make any sense why you have UK is urging the sleeping giant, let Ukraine fire long range. They're not going to fire it. It's us. And that's basically an act of war. So last week, Foreign Minister Sergei stated that the Bear capital would consider any such strike a sign that NATO is openly joining the conflict. There you go. If such equipment are used, that would mean that not just Ukraine, but the NATO nations are openly at war with the Bear. And I believe that's a possibility. I believe it might happen by the end of, getting closer to January 20th. And then they're going to give the spotlight possibly to Donna, say, hey, you take care of it. It's WW3 now. So earlier, the Bear leader Vlad ordered changes to the nation nuclear doctrine that listed strike by a non-nuclear state supported by a nuclear power as justification for a nuclear response on the Bear's part. On Wednesday, Maria also said that Crane Capital could try to pass the Western supply missile off as having been produced in Crane so that they could be used and strike against the Bear. Such, I'm going to skip that name, would not be possible without the approval of Crane's Capital Western backers, she added. Maria's words came just a day after former British Mr. Boris claimed in an interview with GB News that London could send camouflage to Crane to prevent Kiev defeat, particularly if military aid from Washington wanes during Donald's upcoming presidential tenure. So basically, Mr. Johnson is saying, look, if Donald pulls back, then we have no other choice than to back Crane. We're going to be sending soldiers. Well, that's their problem. Because the sleeping giant should not be spending a whole bunch of money on that type of stuff. We need to take care of the sleeping giant within. The Bear has stated that it has no plans to strike NATO or any member state, but also warned that the bloc's growing involvement in the biblical war risks a direct clash between NATO and Moscow. Alright, so that's one of the breaking news. Now, Crane is responding. Crane reacts to nuclear fat man. So it says here, Crane has denied having any plans to develop a nuke to deter the Bear in the event that the flow of sleeping giant military aid dries up. On Wednesday, the Times reported that officials in Crane Capital believed they could quickly create a plutonium-based Fat Man, the boom, similar to the one that the sleeping giant dropped on Nagasaki in 1945, by raiding Crane's nuclear energy facility to obtain some very powerful materials. Now, creating a simple, powerful equipment the sleeping giant did within the framework of the Manhattan Project would not be difficult task 80 years later. A document by Crane Center for Army Conversation and Department Studies stated, as quoted by the British newspaper. According to the document, while the nuclear devices will not be particularly powerful, Crane has sufficient material for hundreds of warheads, with a tactical yield of several kilotons. Now, you need more than just one Fat Man. You need a whole bunch in order to stop the Bear. But the problem here is that if you defeat the Bear has this thing called Dead Man Switch, which means that the Bear will fire all its nuclear throughout the entire world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, no one wins. So that would be enough to, it says here, that would be enough to take out an entire Bear air base or concentrated military, industrial, or logistic installation, the document added, as cited by the Times. Now, the report comes amid widespread concerns in the West and in the Crane Capital that the sleeping giant-elect Mr. Donald may slash or completely halt military aid to Crane after taking office, as the embattled country is already struggling to contain the Bear advances on the battlefield. So there's no way stopping the Bear. So they want to build this powerful Fat Man. And again, for those of you that don't know what's a Fat Man is the atomic that was dropped in 1945. They call that the Fat Man. However, Ukrainian Foreign Ministry spokesman dismissed claims that the country could seek some very powerful equipment. In a statement on Wednesday, he stressed that Crane is committed to the NPT, referring to the 1968 Treaty of the Non-Proliferation, you know what. Alright, we do not possess development or intend to require nukes. Crane works closely with the IAEA and is fully transparent to its monitoring which rules out the use of nukes materials for military purposes, he added. His comments came after Ukrainian leader Zelensky said last month that the capital could protect itself either by becoming a nuclear state or joining NATO, adding that he had conveyed this stance to Donald. However, he insisted at the time that Ukraine was not developing a very powerful equipment. Vladimir said last month that while it is not difficult to create this powerful equipment in a modern world, Ukraine's potential plans to do so will be warning provocation. He warned that the bear would not allow this to happen under any circumstances. All right. So that's what's going on there, guys. So the bear is really sending a message to Ukraine, to the Western, and NATO. Knock it off. It ain't going to happen. Let's see what's going on here. I did talk about this, but we do have an update here. And it says a Gov Research Center has claimed that the country has enough plutonium to build hundreds of crude warheads. Ukraine could feasibly raid the country's nuclear reactors to develop some very powerful equipment. If the sleeping giant cuts off military aid, a briefing paper prepared for the Ministry of Defense has advised. The Times reported on Wednesday that its authors at the National Institute for Strategic Study believe creating a simple, powerful equipment, as the sleeping giant did within the framework of the Manhattan Project, would not be a difficult task 80 years later. Alright, so we're going to skip a lot of this stuff here because it seems like, yeah, it's all the same stuff I just read. So here we go. They call it the Fat Man. Alright, so while a Ukrainian Fat Man will only be a tenth as powerful as the device that leveled Nagasaki, I'm going to skip the name, the amount of plutonium in the country's reactors is sufficient for hundreds of warheads, with a tactical yield of several kilotons. Not looking good. That will be enough to wipe out an entire of the Bear Air Base or concentrated military, industrial, or logistic installation. The exact nuclear yield will be unpredictable because they will use different isotopes of plutonium. Jeez. That's where we at right now, guys. That is where we at right now. I'm going to skip the rest of this, but yeah, the bear is sending a strong message. A very strong message. If you fire long range at us, we're going to fire back, and you guys going to be involved in these biblical war. I got a feeling that something big is going to come before Donald get into the spotlight. I feel like there's a possibility they might fire a long range. It's not going to be Crane. It's going to be either Europe or us, the sleeping giant. So buckle up, guys. And again, this is where we at right now. And, you know, this thing is going to... If they fire those long range, there's no way Donald is going to bring an end to the biblical war. I don't see that happening. Again, I don't see that happening. The bear is going to retaliate, and Europe is the one who's going to get hit with the hammer. And, of course, the sleeping giant is the one that hides behind curtains. And I'm not bashing the sleeping giant, but the sleeping giant is the one that provoked all these biblical wars. So, again, this is where we at right now, guys. Please share the video. I will keep you updated with all these nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and these end times that we are living. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, for those of you that want to give your life to Christ, you can email me. My email is in the description box. Me and my wife are here to help many and to lead many to the righteous path, and that's the path of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. For those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. Once again, guys, $1 a month Patreon. We get you access to our live stream every Monday. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, for He's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.